just cooking a bit of soup. But that's not what I wanted to show you. What I wanted to show you was the new workshop that I've built. Check it out. There she blows. Here's a montage of me building it, and then we'll get inside. Come on in. Oh, you're in here already. Nice. Right, this video is not a video really to tell you how to build your own dream workshop like I've got here, but it is to try and enthuse you to get one built, because it's amazing. I love this workshop. It's absolutely brilliant. Makes me feel great every time I'm in here. So what I'm going to do is you've seen the time lapse, you've seen how I built it. I just want to go through some of the ways that I made it cheaper for myself to build this, although some of them were slightly longer. Being cheaper generally takes a bit longer, but I'll explain that in a bit. Right, I'll go through as best as I can think of how this went together. So the slab, one thing I've got to say with the slab, this is a triangular build, so this fits in the bottom of my garden quite easily. But the slab was by far the hardest part of this project. I didn't consider how hard it would be, to be fair, because I did all of this myself. So I've moved 10 tons of soil, which was only 150 mil deep that I've dug out of this, but it's quite a big space. Getting rid of that was a bit of a task, because I had to hire a trailer, I had to wheelbarrow it down the side of the house, and it took, all this is while I'm working, so this took me, I think, about 2 weeks maybe, or a week or something, of constant digging in the mornings and after work in the evenings, digging out, wheelbarrowing it. I did hire a little digger, as you saw on the montage, but that was a lot of ball ache, that was a lot of sweat, and a lot of effort. Once that was done, the next whole lot of effort was getting the concrete in here. I chose to get it pumped in the end. So after I put my barriers down and I did what you saw in the video, I actually got the concrete pumped in, which was a bit of a pain in the ass in itself, because that involved another £500 on top of the cost of the concrete, which I think in itself was £600. But it had to get brought down the side of the house, right from the front. That was quite labour intensive, and it had to get done in 2 pours, which did generate a few issues with the truck having to go away, come back again. but it wasn't too bad. But that is the reason why I actually laid a timber floor on top of my concrete floor, because the concrete floor wasn't the best, but you live and learn. So once the concrete slab was up, I chose to go for a timber build. I did all of this myself. I haven't done any drawings. I haven't really done anything in the way of full load testing or anything like that. I didn't think it warranted it this, because it's only for myself in the back garden. The planning permission wasn't required, as I followed the instructions on how the sizes of things and the heights of things, so you want to check all that out depending on what year you're building this in. I built this just before the pandemic kicked in, so this is now 3 years old, or 4 years old since I finished it. The walls, I sourced cheap timber for this, so I found a load of timbers that were 2.7 meters. They were cut down, pre-used. But that is a way that you can save a bit of money. I think I found them on Facebook, but you might have to wait for them. They might come in dribs and drabs, so it does take a bit of extra time. If you're trying to build this, quickly, then that's probably not the way forward. But with the cost of timber at the moment, you might want to consider that. So once I got all of those, it was a matter of throwing up the structure. I bolted down into the slab using some threaded bar. And the structure came up relatively quickly, and then I chose to go for what's called a cold roof. There's a warm roof and a cold roof. The difference being that you can see in the video, I'm using insulation inside the roof, then I've got a void, then I've got a roof. So basically the roof can be cold, the inside of the roof is cold, but I'm ventilating the space in between the two voids to ventilate the roof to stop condensation, gapping, something like that anyway. I'm not a builder. I'm not saying this is the way it should be built. I'm just saying this is the way that I built it, and I'm 3 years in now, so I'm quite happy with the results. On top of the cold roof, I've done a fiberglass roof, which again was quite a bit of a pain, but my plan was for it to be a long-term solution. Albeit a few years ago, I did have a frost and a little bit of water has got in, so I've since repaired that with a bit of sticky paint stuff, whatever that is. I don't know, I'm trying to dig out what that was. That's resolved the issue, and that was a year ago, so all's good now. I've maintained a little slope on the roof, which gives me a little drain off. That goes to a drain off at the back, and I chose to clad this thing in steel sides, coated steel, profiled sides, which are maintenance free. Basically, that was the principle behind that. And I've left a gap so I can get down the sides to maintain it if I need to, and cut back the hedges or whatever you need to. But I can't stress how much, if you're aiming to build one of these, the feeling that you get when you come into your own workshop is absolutely fantastic. So I'd advise it to anyone who's looking into it. Costings wise, this cost me in total, albeit this is a few years back now, I'm talking that this was finished in 2020, I think it was, just after sort of COVID had sort of taken hold a little bit. It cost me about £8,000 in total, which is pretty cheap considering. I mean, I think it's 12 metres down the back, 8 by 10 or something like that, roughly. So I think I did it reasonably cheap. One massive saving that I managed to get, again, if you're at time constraints, if you're trying to rush this or do it quickly, then you won't do this, because you've got to keep an eye on Facebook or any places where they're selling second-hand stuff. But I managed to get a load of insulation. You see in the video, 2 of the 3 sides of the internal walls were clad with second-hand insulation, which I had to take out from. I had to go and get it with my trailer on the car, which you can see. So I had to peel off all the metal to get all the insulation out, which was all wet and horrible. So then I had to cut it up all wet and horrible and dry it out, which was horrible, which took ages, but it did save me probably at least £1,000, I reckon, because that stuff is expensive. I didn't appreciate how expensive that stuff is, but it is expensive. So that saved me a bit of money. Also, the timber sides, this wall here is full of free melamine coated 18mm chipboard, which I got free from offcuts from a kitchen manufacturing place. Again, just keep your eyes peeled on Facebook and any other second-hand outlets for free to collector or anything like that. So that was an absolute result. What else? Oh, my windows. All my windows are actually sourced free to collector from, it was somebody getting rid of a conservatory. So all the glass is free, and I've made all my own window frames from timber, so that I kept the cost down a little bit there. They don't open, that's one regret that I have, that the windows don't actually open. But obviously the doors will open for ventilation. I've got my roof light over there, again, because I got the glass, the glazing from my free conservatory that I had to collect, which I had my little trailer to collect. But that was I just shoved it in there because I had the glazing, so it was in. So that was a result. And I think that's about it. I did a timber floor on top of my concrete. I really wanted to pour my concrete and get a really nice buffed finish, but I wasn't skilled enough to do that, to be honest, at the time. And I just ran out of effort and time to do a good job on that. So it was a bit rough, so I ended up putting a very light screed in the middle because it wasn't perfectly flat. And then 18mm OSB, tongue and groove flooring, which worked really well, and I've just painted that with an epoxy paint again, which I got off Facebook, so that was a bit of a saving, a few £100 there. And everything else is pretty much just thrown together. All my furniture in here, the table that you're stood on is home built. All my surfaces are obviously bespoke built. A couple of IKEA units at the ends here and here. All my worktops are relatively cheap B&Q stuff. A welding table that I've managed to build, that was all built, so it's all cheap and cheerful. Back to actually thinking about it, the walls, I'll just let you know how I've done the walls. So I've done a metal outer, followed by a cavity, which is two strips of battens about 1 inch, so I've got the steel, a gap of about 1 inch, then a breathable membrane which lets air out, I believe, yeah, it lets air out and doesn't let water in. Followed by the actual timber frame itself, which is filled with insulation, rock wool insulation. Then I've got a barrier, an airtight barrier on the inside, followed by either plasterboard on these walls or my timber melamine, free melamine stuff on this wall. The ceiling is much the same, so I've got my outer, very outer surface as my fiberglass. On top of 18mm OSB, timbers, then I have a nice void for the air to evaporate all the water, whatever. Then I've got my foam, and then I have a sheet of non-breathable membrane, then my plasterboard going up. So the whole place really should be almost airtight on the inside of here. So it does work really well. It's insulated nicely. In the winters it's not too cold, and in the summer it's not too hot. It does get quite hot, but yeah, my only regret is not having the windows openable, but that would have caused a bit of hassle probably in itself. And other than that, it is what it is. It's a brilliant space that I love coming out to, and I'll show you around a bit. So my doors, you can see from the doors, they're just, I sourced the timber and actually cut with my circular saw a groove on the wood, on the inside of the wood, for the door frames, just for the glass to sit into the door frames. So they're actually bespoke built doors, which saves a lot of money. The windows, again, the panes of glass which I got out of my free conservatory, and I just framed them myself. These are IKEA, 30 quid for off eBay, just nice shelving, eBay special. The lights are nice, low profile, cheap-ish. They're about 20 quid per panel. It's got a cheap and cheerful power supply. That just comes straight off the house distribution board, 32 amp breaker. It comes straight in. I've got some nice LEDs along the front, which light it up quite nicely. And all my bits and pieces. I'll show you at some stage if you want. I've built a lot of my stuff. So I've built that disc sander. I've put a 3-phase supply in for my bandsaw. My crosscut saw works nicely with my table. I've got a little radiator that I warmed the place with, which works really well. That's a project that I've got in the wings, ready and waiting to be done, which I can't wait for. And I'm going to show you guys. I've got my charging station for my RC stuff. I've got a fairing down here that I'm trying to fix up for somebody. I've got my dirt bike, which does take up a bit of space, but I wheel it out if I need the space. My welding table. which works really well. I've got my 3D printer that I've got going on. The 3D printer, I've got my TIG welder, which I'm loving. I've got a nice little lathe that I bought, a little cheap lathe, which I put a 3-phase motor on the back. So I've got really nice speed control over that. I've got my wood store down the back. Another IKEA special. There's my window up there. You can see that. A few tools that are out there. My little CNC machine. And the laptop that runs it. The auto gyro, which is looking in a sad sorry state since you probably saw it last on one of my previous videos. That's a drone that I've got there, which I don't fly barely at all. That's fallen off my shelf. Put that up there. TV that rarely gets used, a circular saw down there which sort of gets used, and I've put cupboards underneath just for extra storage and bits and pieces. So all in all, it's great. This actually here is a skate box for my lads to skateboard on, and a skate rail that they use in here, but there's not a lot of room, to be honest. And that's it. So hope this has possibly inspired some of you guys or girls to build yourself a workshop. I truly advise it, and it's amazing. It's absolutely amazing. So get out there and get building.